Awesome. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Milindi Kodikara. I am the lead for our Google Developer Student Club of RMIT University. And today we will be doing the first workshop of Cloud Study Jams. Woo! And our brilliant computer magician, Prottay Karim, will be hosting this today for you guys. So, PK, take it off.
Hey guys, I am PK and today's session is going to be an introduction to Google Cloud. This session is going to be called Google Cloud Study Jams, and let's get started. So our main focus today will be to look at the Google Cloud Platform Essentials, and throughout this entire workshop today and the next 2 Fridays, you'll be completing a series of quests and a series of labs, and I will be introducing those labs to you, and I will be talking about the important things and the basic definitions of things that you should be knowing, okay? So once again, this is organized by the Google Developer Student Club. So I hope you guys stay with us and connect with us on Discord. And for today's event, you can see that there are 2 sections for the chats, a Q&A, which you can see in the activities bar in the bottom right. And that's and another thing is chat with everyone. So during the session, if you have questions, you can just put it in the Q&A session, and Jacqueline's here with me, and she's gonna help out with your queries. After we complete a lab, we will have a small discussion session where you guys can ask questions, and I'll be happy to answer them as well. Okay. So let's kick it off with a small video from Google. If there are sound problems, do let me know. Is the audio?
Oh, we cannot hear it.
That shouldn't be the case.
It could be something with the Google Meet itself, actually.
Okay, you're gonna have subtitles, so it shouldn't be a problem, okay? Okay, so let's get started. Just fix my screens a bit. Okay. So let's talk about this study jam. Okay. So what it is, it's a place where you're going to be learning the fundamentals of Google Cloud Platform, how to run containers on it, and use the platform for data engineering. We are going to be adding some more parts to this, like machine learning and stuff in the future, but from this workshop, we hope to introduce you to data engineering. How long does it take? We have 3 virtual sessions of 2 hours. 2 hours is the maximum limit. And for the next 3 Fridays, including today, the next 2 Fridays and today will complete the whole workshop series. And the result would be you're going to be getting a Google hosted badge that you can put in your LinkedIn profiles or share on social media. Okay. So welcome to Google Study Jam. a hands-on learning event. So this is the agenda for today's meeting. For the first 15 minutes, we are going to be doing some introduction and onboarding, and we're going to be doing 2 labs. Be sure to share your photos online with the hashtag CloudStudyJam or hashtag CloudStudyJam21, and do include us, hashtag GDSC RMIT. So get set. Let's go. So first of all, we're going to be using a platform known as Quick Labs. And Quick Labs is Google's own platform where they teach us how to do stuff on the cloud. And the quest that we're going to be doing today is also on Quick Labs. So if you have any troubles regarding Quick Labs, we suggest you email them at support@quicklabs.com. They are very responsive, and there's a live chat option too. So let's talk about preparing for cloud careers. First of all, it is great to see this interest in learning about cloud and related career opportunities. Let's take a look at how you can prepare for a cloud career. We start off by a strong theoretical foundation in the university. And by strong foundation, it doesn't really mean that you're going to have cloud foundations. It's the general foundation that a computer science student has or an IT student has. It's your work with text editors and command lines that actually help you with setting up your cloud projects, okay? And then we have this, that is, you'll need a strong industry skills to launch your careers. To do that, the thing you should do is begin your journey to the cloud. We're going to start with a few cloud study jams. You're going to have this Quick Labs badges, and this study jam is going to give you an introduction to Google Cloud. And make sure to participate in all our labs to get your badge. And the best part is badges unlock deeper learning benefits, which means you're going to be getting credits and other opportunities and badges to showcase your skills and learn more on Google Cloud. So in a way, you're already doing this by attending today. You can also move on to deeper learnings. You can build your cloud muscle with the Google Cloud Career Readiness program, where you deep dive with in-depth training on Coursera and Quick Labs. And upon successful completion of the training, you will receive a course completion certificate from Google Cloud and Coursera. This is the certificate, by the way. So the learning opportunities with Google Cloud are a great way to prepare for cloud careers. What's possible with cloud? Let's look at an example that we are all likely familiar with. So this is a very famous game, and I hope all of you have played Pokemon Go or knew somebody who has been a huge fan of the game. So Pokemon Go is a mobile application that uses many services across Google Cloud. When the game launched, the teams targeted 1x player traffic with the worst case estimate of roughly 5x this target, which basically means that they expected 100 people to come and play the game, and in a worst case scenario, in a good day, they will have 500 people. But Pokemon Go's popularity caused the traffic to surge rapidly. Player traffic reached 50x the initial target, 10 times the worst case estimate. This application was able to meet the demand with reliability and scalability provided by Google Cloud services such as Google Kubernetes Engine, HTTP load balancers, and Google Cloud Data Store. We'll learn about some of these cloud services today. So, what is cloud or cloud computing? Cloud computing can be a confusing term, but at the most basic level, it means that we're getting things done using someone else's computer. In this case, Google's computer. Google Cloud Platform allows us to use Google's computing infrastructure to help us run our applications. So there are three main types of Google-based services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Let's look at each of them. So infrastructure includes raw resources, such as a virtual machine, networking, storage, and more. These resources are the fundamental building blocks of cloud computing. When you consume infrastructure as a service, you have greater control over the resources, but also greater management overhead. For example, consider a virtual machine. You need to install, upgrade, and patch all the software required to run your application. You can configure your virtual machines to scale based on the load on your application. Google Compute Engine, networking, and load balancers are examples of infrastructure as a service. Let's move on to platforms as a service. Platform as a service provides a platform with managed services where runtime, environment, and network settings are pre-configured. This makes it easier for you to develop and deploy your application. Google App Engine is an example of platform as a service. Google App Engine comes pre-configured with runtimes for Java, Python, Node.js, and more. Software upgrades and patches are automatically applied. Load balancing is also pre-configured. This enables the developers to focus on the application logic only, instead of worrying about infrastructure setup. And finally, we have software as a service. With software as a service, entire applications are managed and are made available in cloud environment. Gmail is an example of software as a service, and sorry for not including the current logo. Okay. So let's see some advantages of clouds on Google Cloud. Consider the infrastructure needed for an online game. You can use Google Cloud services to store object data, such as image and video files, high volume or semi-structured data, such as streaming or game data, relational data, such as user ID, name, and so on. There are multiple options, such as Kubernetes engine for your application runtime environment. This is where your application code executes. You can also build apps which use other services like Google Maps and YouTube. With computer-based services and cloud-based services, you don't have to set up and manage your own infrastructure. You can simply focus on developing your app and then use managed cloud services to make it available globally within minutes. So take your app global within minutes. I will show a quick demonstration of this after our labs today, so you can see how fast we can do this. And you're going to be learning to take an app global in minutes today also. So let's move on to our main event, Google Cloud Platform Essentials. So let's get started. These are the steps that you have to follow to enroll into the Quick Labs tutorial, and you will be given free credits and trial runs on the Google Cloud platform to earn certifications and badges. So If you have a Quick Labs account, please log out. If you're already enrolled in this quest, please unenroll from this quest. You're gonna want to open incognito window, and this is actually important. And Jacqueline, could you please paste this link in the chat as well?
Yep, I have.
Thank you. And then, so once you're here, you're gonna want to go down into infrastructure and architecture section where you can find the GCP Essentials badge.
So is everyone following?
Go onto the link and scroll down to the infrastructure and architecture section where you're gonna find this cool blue purple badge saying GCP Essentials, okay? You're gonna wanna click on enroll and then paste this code that Jacqueline just provided in the chat into the prompt. And just a quick disclaimer, this code will only be available for our event on 6th August, and we're going to give you more codes and more credits in the future for attending these workshops. So you can use your own email ID, so you can later link it to your LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever you use. And then you're gonna click on Enroll Quest. Let me sign in with you guys. So once you paste the code, let us know in the chat.
Feel free to inform us if you're lost.
Yeah. Just put it in the chat, raise your hand, unmute yourself, talk to us. No worries.
Yeah, you should sign in with your Google account first. You click the GCP Essentials. Yep.
So after you put in the code, you're gonna be brought to this page where you're gonna wanna sign in. If you have an account, or join if you wanna create a new one. Use. Sorry. So after you hit enroll, this is what it's supposed to look like. Is everybody up to speed? Oh yeah, sure. So
It's under
Yeah, so once you open that link, this is where it's going to take you. You're going to want to scroll down into this infrastructure and architecture section, where this is going to be the last patch that you're going to be shown. So, did everybody manage to open their account and get enrolled in Google Cloud Essentials? Great. So let's move on with the workshop. So your first lab is going to be this one, the TCP Essentials. If someone don't follow this link, we have already given you the link. You're gonna click on a tour of Quick Labs and Google Cloud Platform. Don't do anything yet. Just click on the tour and stay on that page. Okay. So in this lab, a tour of Quick Labs and Google Cloud Platform, GCP Essentials Quest, there are two main objectives. Number one is being accustomed to Quick Labs platform and learning how to use Google Cloud Platform Console. Now, the Quick Labs platform is important because this is where Google hosts most of its cloud badges and certifications, and this is entirely built for learners. So whenever you're gonna wanna learn something about cloud, you can just go onto Quick Labs and search for what you want to learn, and you can earn your badge and complete the certification. And the Google Cloud Platform Console is basically the Google platform where all cloud things are hosted, and we're going to give you a tour of what's where and how do you access the command line and stuff. Okay, so before we begin, let's talk about all Google Cloud Platform services that are associated with the project. So using the Google Cloud Platform services, you can track resource and quota usage, meaning that you can track how much compute time or how much memory you're using on the cloud platform. You can enable billing, so you can keep a track of the billing that you will receive at the end of the month in real time. Manage permissions and credentials. This is for including people to the team or excluding them actually. So this is how you add people to your cloud project, and you're going to learn about enabling services and APIs to connect to your project. Okay. So this is another concept that you're going to be seeing in this lab. It's called the can do what part. Who can do what part is defined by an IAM role. An IAM role means an identity access management role. An IAM role is a collection of permissions. Most of the time, to do any meaningful operations, you need more than one permission. For example, to manage instances in a project, you need to create, delete, start, stop, and change an instance. So the permissions are grouped together into a role to make it easier to manage. The who part names the user or group to whom the rule is granted to. To give a user or group the desired permissions, you grant a role to the user on a resource. It's sort of like how you share docs or photos on Google Workplace. you share a link and you can select if they are editors, viewers, or commenters. Okay. And that's about it for this. Let's take a look at the essentials side. So this is where you're gonna come up to a tour of Quick Labs and Google Cloud. So let me just scan through. Well, we're gonna be doing this together, though I have completed it once. Another heads up that I realized while completing this is that they use a text editor called Nano. So what you have to realize is that the Google Cloud Platform is built entirely on Linux. And what that means is that you need to do a lot of command line works to use this platform, and that goes for Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure. So you're going to be working with a small text editor called Nano that is basically a command line editor for Linux softwares. So let's get started with this. And if you have confusions along the way or something you want to ask, unmute yourself or drop it in the chat, okay? So let's get started. Well, I have actually completed this. So if I scroll down, you're going to see the answers to all the quizzes. But I hope you guys just go on and start with the lab, okay? So after you come to accessing the Cloud Console, you're gonna wanna hit Start Lab, but I do want you all to go slowly and read everything through. Jackie, are you also attempting the labs?
Choose your fighter. Lightning inspired. Fight.
Could you guys let me know if you're to the accessing the Cloud Console part? Then we can both do it together.
Yeah, I think it's better if we're gonna do it together.
Yeah, so let's see if everyone's up to this accessing the Cloud Console part, and then I'll show them a bit about opening Cloud Console and stuff. This dead silence is creepy. So let's also oops, I did make a mistake. So let's take a minute to look at the cloud platform first. The first thing you'll realize is that the UI is way better than AWS. So go Google. And on the top left, you have the project info where you're gonna have your name, project ID, and project numbers. These are gonna be the APIs that you're gonna be plugging in to your projects. This is the trace section where it's going to show you the number of users and the data that you are going through every day. You're gonna connect APIs and other things here, and these are gonna show out here. If you wanna go through a section that you're particularly interested about, you will have this section for getting started. In Google Cloud Platform, every single tutorial is well documented, so you're gonna have great documentations for everything that you want to build. Please remember that you should be doing exactly what the lab is asking you to do, or else the Google Cloud Platform might disable your account. So this, and let's look at the navigation bar too. So the navigation bar has 7 sections. We have the compute section, we have the storage section, the database section, the networking section, cloud operations, tools, big data, and AI. As you can see, the AI and big data sections are huge, so that's why it's best if you are if you're studying AI or machine learning, you could use the wide range of machine learning and artificial intelligence resources that Google provides along with Google Cloud. There are a lot of subsections here that I don't think many of you know, or actually I don't even know all of them, but it's okay. Once you choose your specifications and specializations, you're gonna explore more of this. So we are gonna look at access management, ID and admin. So this is basically your management system where you're gonna see how many members are using it. So the first two that you see, Admiral and Quick Labs GCP service account, these are just accounts that are created for you. When you actually make your own platform and your own project, this is only gonna show your email ID here. So let's look at the roles. In the roles section, we usually have three roles: a viewer, editor, and a donor. A viewer is basically people who can just read, who get read-only actions. They can view your project and look at different data and stuff, but they cannot use the existing resources or change your data or settings. The editor has the reading permissions and actions to modify state, such as changing existing resources, which basically means, let's just look at owner first and then I'll tell you the difference between them. So all editor permissions and permissions for the following actions, like manage roles and permissions for a project and all resources within the project. So the owner is actually capable of changing the billing system or accessing the billing system and granting other people permission. And the editor can only edit resources like the owner, but doesn't have the permission to manage roles or look at billings. How is everybody doing? Like, are you guys up to speed and comfortable with this platform, or okay, so let's take a look at APIs and services. APIs are basically application programming interfaces, and they can be connected to your project directly, and you can use Google Cloud to do so. Cloud APIs use resource-oriented design principles. I will just, okay, not now I guess. We will include all of these documentations and extra readings in your slide that we will email to you after the event, okay? So let's take a look at a specific API. Library. So this is Dialogflow API. Dialogflow is basically the API that you could connect to have Google Assistant on your IoT devices or on your softwares. Okay, so we're gonna enable this. Dialogflow API is actually very cheap compared to all its functionalities, cheaper than Alexa, by the way. We'll go back. you can see that the API is enabled. We're gonna try this API. So this is the API documentation. We'll also link in the workshop slides. And you can just go through this to connect any APIs to your projects. My favorite one, by the way, is the Google Calendar API. So you just tell your Google Calendar when to add what, and it's gonna just keep updating your Google Calendar. You can also use this during a meeting, and the Google Calendar will just keep adding dates and times to the important things that you talk about in a meeting. Let's also look at the Cloud Shell. Sorry, guys.
So is this like a voice assistant?
Yeah, it's like a voice assistant. It's actually the exact Google Assistant that you find, but this Dialogflow API actually helps you add this voice assistant for different purposes. Like the calendar API that I was showing you, you could add it to your software, like a listening device or something, or you could add it to your Google HomePod. And what this will do is whenever you are talking, it will just include your, if you, for example, both of us are talking and I say, okay, I'll meet you on Sunday at 6, and the HomePod is just gonna listen to you and add it to your calendar instead of you going into calendar or asking it to do it. There are no security risks, by the way, so because it's a locally hosted thing. So this is the Cloud Shell. Now, the Cloud Shell is actually run via Nano. I could show you this is Nano. So Nano is basically a text editor, and this text editor is specifically for Linux and to use Linux command lines like our Windows command line or the Mac command line. I haven't used the Mac yet, so I don't know what it's called. So basically this is the editor that you see right here. And it's very flexible, but there are a few things that are different than your typical text editor. Some commands and a few ways how you view a directory or list a directory. So I'm gonna go ahead and authenticate list. Okay. Now let's see how you create a list. So to create a list, you use the command touch, and then touch, let's say, I don't want to use test because test.txt it's a mouthful. So let's say rmit.text. And this is not going to give you an output because you haven't asked for it. So let's ask to list the directory, and you can see that there is a cloudshell.txt called rmit.txt. And we could also make nano rmit. This allows us to edit the text file, and this is really the nano editor that you're looking at. Google updates it regularly, so you can go to the documentations, and this is quite easy to run and quite lightweight, sort of like Vim on steroids. Okay, so let's say they asked to say Google Cloud and Quick Steps are the best. I'm just gonna say hello world. Don't press enter, by the way, so just save the file, and it's gonna say yes. Then oops, then press enter. We're gonna look at the file, just write cat and your file name. You can see the text in the files. That's all about the first lab. Why don't you guys take your time to complete it? There's nothing to rush. I really mean it. Take your time, finish this, and we can meet back at the quest section.
If I've completed all the steps, should I click End Lab?
Yeah, if you have completed all the steps, click End Lab. Yep, it's Debian, but you're gonna also have the chance of changing it to Ubuntu or any other Linux OS that you want, okay? So initially it starts up with Debian. We're gonna look at how to change the types of OS in the next laptop.
Prottay, have you done many of these courses on Quick Labs?
Yeah, I have actually gone through a lot of them. We actually got the subscription this Monday for the event. They sent in a lot of credits. So I did use a significant amount of them, but I plan on sharing the rest of them with everyone who's attending the workshop. Like, they are going to give you a whole month access after today's workshop, and I'll just add the rest of my credit points for everyone who's attending today and the other 2 labs.
Wow, thank you.
No worries. The subscriptions are expensive, so the more study jam sessions there are, the best it is for students. Okay. You guys should also do one so I can get some more credits. Yeah. 8 credits.
Did you have a favorite?
Yeah, the catalog is actually huge, but I did go through a few machine learning ones, and machine learning is tough, but when you add it with Google Cloud and all the APIs and resources it has, you just feel like a genius. Like you just created an AI machine out of scratch.
I actually had a trial with Google Cloud. I think everyone gets $300 when they join. I'm not sure if that's for everyone.
So you're the lead. Everyone gets just 9 credits when they join.
And I was doing some speech-to-text projects with the transcription AI, and it's really good.
Yeah.
You just send over a voice clip and they'll tell you what you say.
And the best part about it is that this is sort of a global project because Google Assistants understand accents too. So it's just more accessible to the whole world.
The next competitor, I think, is IBM. They do 10 languages.
Yeah.
And another one does 3. And Google's sitting up there with 130 languages.
Yeah. This is actually important. Making tech accessible to people is something Google is doing pretty well. Jacqueline is also really interested in machine learning.
Yeah, I'm taking the Andrew Nang's Coursera course. But I'm still in week 4, so still learning the neural network stuff.
What's the course name? It's with Coursera, but what's the name of it again?
Oh, Stanford University by... Oh, it's just machine learning by Andrew Nang.
Okay, sounds good. I heard a lot of people are doing one on Kaggle.
Yeah. Kaggle is more of a open source kind of thing. It's good, but I prefer learning with a lot of visuals and animations. So that's usually only applicable during paid courses. But machine learning actually gave me PTSD last year. I was pulling my hair out.
Was that when you're learning it through university?
No, I wasn't learning it through university. I actually went on this phase from motivational speakers that you can learn to code and you can learn CS on your own and stuff. So I went into machine learning. I don't know, I just had a huge shock and then I came back to a university-oriented learning. Follow courses and maybe build a few projects along the way.
Yeah, Sydney, I sent a link on the chat. That's the course. Andrew is really good at explaining.
Yeah. This is like the most famous machine learning course there is. Like everywhere you ask for resources, this is the first thing that you're gonna get.
But they do Octave instead of Python. Is everyone going well?
I never even heard of Octave until now.
Well, actually, as CS students, we haven't heard of a lot of things. It's like every time you research something and you feel like you don't know anything.
That's true. We only know Java, C++, and Python. That's the 3 common languages.
I started learning Go. Thanks, Vanessa. So I started learning Golang because, if you look at the salaries for Golang, it's like pretty high. And after a few days, I realized that Golang actually pays high because the majority of engineers who are programming in Golang actually work at Google. So they're being paid high because they're Googlers and not Golang users. And then I just lost all motivation to learn Golang. It's like basically if you just get a good sense of object-oriented programming, a bit of functional programming, and a good sense of arrays and lists, it's actually easy to just move on to other languages and pick up new technologies, except for HTML and CSS. I have never had the patience to go to HTML and CSS. I just lose interest the very next minute.
Yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve because it's so different.
Yeah. And I don't know, it just feels boring at times.
It's not fun, I don't think.
Putting up tags and writing content.
It's only fun, I think, when you start to do really cool stuff with JavaScript.
Yeah.
And maybe put in some like cool libraries. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to
It's actually true.
anyone that loves front-end coding under the bus. I'm sure there's plenty of people that really love front-end coding.
Yeah.
It's just not my forte.
Front-end coding can be also fun, I guess. I mean, if you look at the iPhone web pages, the insane transitions and videos that they have, that's like their website is like the gold standard for web pages.
Which website, sorry?
Oh, Apple's website.
100% agree.
Yeah.
The way that it changes as you scroll.
Yeah.
Could be a weekend project just trying to copy the Apple page. You probably end up going for more than a weekend, like a month, just copying it, and the next month they change it, so it's not even, you can't keep up with them.
Their website is actually like that should be the industrial standard of websites, because they have so many images and animations going on in the background, but the web pages are so smooth. Like they have optimized every single bit of it.
If you create an account on GitHub recently, like if you create one now, you'll see some of the best animations in web design ever. It looks so sharp and it's so responsive.
Yeah, this thing. This globe is so sick. You can actually see the repositories that are running right now.
You also, after you create an account, it like explodes and it looks like you're traveling at light speed or something, and all the stars go really quick. Yeah, like this is awesome as well.
So the thing that Sydney and I are trying to say is that we respect front-end developers and you are really hardworking people. You can make cool things. So everybody, are you guys done with the first lab? Just a quick update would be nice. Do you guys have any questions after you completed the first lab? Like, to me, I did feel like Google doesn't deep dive into anything, so there are a lot of tech jargons involved in the tutorial.
I think we can move on to the second lab. TK, you're muted.
Sorry. So let's move on to the second lab. So, sorry. Yeah. So the second lab is called creating a virtual machine. Actually, GCP allows you to choose an elective here, which is to compute engine or create a virtual machine. We are going to be doing the virtual machine part because this is the most famous instances that you should know. In most cases, what happens is, for example, you're gonna make an ERP software or an HR management software. So what you would do is host everything on a virtual machine and just provide your links to the company so they can use that virtual machine for a very specific task. So we are going to be creating a virtual machine because it's more popular, okay? In this lab, you're going to be learning about regions and zones. Let me put it in full screen. So, regions are independent geographic areas that consist of zones. Locations within regions tend to have round-trip network latencies of under 5 milliseconds on the 95th percentile. What that basically means is that, let's say, regions are your house and zones are your rooms, okay? So every time you want to connect to a specific region, you would want to choose the region closest to you because the network actually travels to the region and comes back to you. So for example, if you're sitting in Australia and you're using the Singaporean region, so it's just going to go to Singapore and come back. You could also use the Melbourne one. This is a very new cloud infrastructure that they just built. So that would be your fastest region because it's closest to you. On the other hand, you could actually use the region in Central America. And what that's going to do is create more latency, hence making your program slower. So a zone is an isolated location within a region. You can think of this as being similar to a data center. A zone is designed and set up to be independent of the other zones within the region. In the rare cases that one zone goes down, the other zones are still operational. To enable fault tolerance, you should deploy your applications across multiple zones. For example, if a zone is affected by a network outage, your application will still continue to function if it is deployed across multiple zones. A zone is a deployment area for cloud platform resources within a region. Zones should be considered a single failure domain within a region. In order to deploy fault tolerance applications with high availability, you should deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region to help protect against unexpected failure. And we're going to learn how to do this in this lab. So I just want to give you a quick overview of all this, okay? So let's look at virtual machines. Sorry. So you have likely worked with a physical computer before, and in fact, you're working with it now. A physical computer has resources such as CPU, memory, disk storage, network configuration, operating systems, and other application software. A virtual machine is a software-based computer, like you can see in this picture here. And like a physical computer, it has resources like CPU, memory, operating system, etc. A virtual machine uses the physical resources of the host that is running on. Every virtual machine has virtual devices that provide the same functionality as physical hardware. They also have additional benefits related to portability, manageability, and security. For example, you can launch a virtual machine, run applications for some time, and then destroy the virtual machine when the resources are no longer needed. It's like using Google's computer whenever you want to do whatever you want, and then destroying that computer whenever you want. Okay? So, Compute Engine offers managed virtual machines with several predefined machine types. You can also configure a custom virtual machine with your own CPU, memory, and disk specifications. So it's sort of like building your own computer on the cloud. You can add as much storage as you want. You can add as much computing power as you want. It's just, you can actually create your own computer on the cloud that you can run. Okay. And this is the lab that we are going to be doing right now. So you can see the objectives: to create a virtual machine with Power Platform console, create a virtual machine with the command line, and we're also going to deploy a web server and connect it to virtual machine using engines. So let's take a look at it. Let's move on to the labs now. So at first, they're going to talk to you about a few flavors of Linux. Is everybody following and up to date with me? I guess, okay. So the overview, give a read through it. Don't worry about the text editors that they say you should be familiar with, like Vim, Emacs, and Nano. Mainly, the familiarity with Nano is important, but we'll be going through it together, so there shouldn't be any problems. Okay. So this is. So it's the same initial things that you were told before you started the lab. So once you come to this part, activate Cloud Shell, you can go ahead and start your lab. Cars. Do you guys also have to go through this whole verification thing?
Yeah, we do.
Do you know Google is using this kind of thing to train their AI model?
Why?
Yeah, that's why they asked a lot of these things.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess I'm teaching the AI wrong. Because I get these things wrong a lot. Oh. Am I running another lab already? I'm not running another lab. Okay. Oh no. I do believe that someday I'll make an AI that can do this for me.
Oh, wait. So regarding the code, you don't really need to click the code. You just click the one edit, one credit. Yeah.
Yeah. you're just gonna click for subscription. Because you guys have already received a bunch of credits for just attending this workshop. And hopefully we will be able to get you more of them by the end of this series of workshops. No worries. It's okay to be fearful of quick labs because, I don't know, they are very sensitive about how you're using the labs or what you're doing on the cloud and stuff. So it's basically the same thing, except for your user ID. So let's before keep this here. So for this lab, they first ask you to activate Cloud Shell. So basically the general command for activating your Cloud Shell is always gcloud auth list, which means authenticate gcloud list. Okay. And you move on from that. My terminal is taking its sweet time. So we're gonna do gcloud authenticate list again and authorize. And you can configure projects using gcloud config, short for configure, list your project. And this is the ready-made project that you get when you enter the Quick Labs laboratory. And this is your student ID and the Quick Labs ID. So in this section, they're just showing you how you can view different sections of the platform, like your user ID, your project names and stuff. Okay, for spy. Say how the final time to labs. You can just submit it by tonight, I guess. That should be sufficient. So we can just go through everything and then decide on sending you more credits in the future. So as I was saying, sorry, this first part actually teaches you on using the Linux command line to view your ID and your project name and project ID, so you can just have a good sense of what's going on in the cloud. It's always good practice to open your platform and do gcloud auth list and then gcloud config list project. These two commands that we just did, so you can have a general idea of what you're working with. Okay. We move on to the regions section, and this is important. If you go down to this documentation, you can see how this set up regions, and there's a lot of things about regions that you should know initially when, like, this is sort of a beginner level read before you dive into cloud, because this is the foundation of your entire cloud experience. If you select the right region, it will enhance your programs or projects runtime, it will decrease latency, and you will just overall get a smooth ride in your projects. You can change regions, by the way, but regions have different billing systems and different resources. So I do recommend that everyone actually goes through this at some point. I'm just pasting it in the chat, but it will be included in your slides as well. Okay. So the region part is the exact thing that I discussed with you guys. And let's go ahead and create a new console for our engine. Navigation, compute engine. So for the first part of this lab, they're going to teach you to use the Google Cloud Platform's UI to create a new instance. And in the second part here, they're going to teach you how to create an instance using the command line interface. I do encourage people to go to the command line interface because the UI and the user experience for AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Azure, and the platforms that are going to come in the future are going to keep changing, but the Linux command line is not going anywhere. And if you have a good handle on the Linux command line, you can actually do well in any labs that you prefer in any cloud platforms. So this takes a bit of time, I guess. So name is permanent. That is something you should always remember. In this label, I will add GDSC, RMIT, value is 1 for workshop 1. Please look at the table before you select a very specific option. For this section, this said to use GCE Lab, that's the name. And for the region, it's going to be Iowa, but you change US Central 1 to F. For the machine, we are going to use the very new Skylake CPUs instead of the E2s. And we want to use 2 vCPUs with 7.5 gigs of memory. And once you do this, you can take a look at the boot disk. You see that it's running on Debian, but you have the option of changing it to Ubuntu, Windows Server, Rocky Linux, Red Hat, depending on what you prefer and what project you're doing. So we're going to use Debian, and we're going to use 10 Buster series. You have a lot of disk types. For this lab, a balanced persistent disk should be fine. And we're gonna enable HTTP traffic. Okay. So like this, we hit create now. And if you give it some time, this is your very first virtual machine. So what we're going to do here is when they say use SSH to connect to a virtual machine, it basically means to use a secure shell to connect to the machine. And the secure shell is basically used for cryptography and security in computer science. So we will not be diving further into this, but you can take a look at SSH and you can find tons of resources on SSH. Let's give it some time to initialize. If you do feel like you have made a problem along the way or during this particular section, you can always delete this and create a new instance, or you don't have to delete it all, just create a new instance. Okay, so we are gonna open SSH. So this SSH command line is basically hosted on Google Cloud, and we're going to use something called Nginx, which is basically a web server that you can use to access websites and web pages. Okay, so let's gain root access using sudo su. Sudo su in SSH gives you the root access to the command line, and that means so let's use apt date. I think it's wrong. Let's try this out again. We just got root access, and now we use update to update the OS of the cloud system that we're running, and then we use apt to install Nginx. It's usually gives you a prompt to say yes or no, so we add Y for yes, and you have just installed your very first Nginx machine on cloud. Let's check if it's running. Yes, it's running. And now we can just click, sorry, I just clicked on the central IP, and this is your very first web page on Google Cloud. So we just created a virtual machine, installed Nginx into the SSH servers, and it's up and running. I hope it doesn't feel much complicated, and if it does, I assure you, you just have to create 2 or 3 more projects, and this is going to feel very easy. Okay. So this was how you use the interface of Google Cloud to create your own virtual machine. Now we are gonna use the command line, the terminal to we're gonna use the terminal to create our instance. We're gonna create the same instance but with the terminal. Okay. So we say gcloud compute instances, and we want to create, this is the name for the lab, so we're going to call it GC Lab 2. GC Lab 2, and we are going to want to select machine like we did previously, and we say machine type is N1 standard and 2, and we are gonna use zone of US Central 1. This is basically the zone code. Oh, sorry, I did make a mistake. Sorry about that. This anymore? Okay, so that's again. Oh, it's taking its good time too. Yep. Now we have this machine type, which is permittable, and the status is running. So we have created an instance using the terminal of Cloud Shell. Okay. So this is something that you want to notice, that these things, when you don't specify your OS, they're gonna build it on Debian 10. There are different types of machines that you can create or select. You could just go to gcloud compute instances, create, and help. You could use the help command to basically look at a very short documentation on how to do each thing on the cloud, how to write the code, and what are the keywords and syntax that you should be using. So I'm just gonna exit this now. And if we go back to our compute instances, VM instances, we can see that we have already created another virtual machine, that is GC Lab 2, which is basically the same thing but with a different name. But we use the entire Google Cloud Terminal to do this. And that's why I prefer the terminal, because the UI might change and you might discover another cloud platform that you're interested in, but the terminal is gonna stay the way it is. Okay. So in the next sections of your lab, you could go through the SSH encryptions. Don't worry about the SSH encryptions yet. You'll have a lot of time to discover security in computer science, or most of you have already done it, but don't worry about it now, okay? So you can follow the next two steps and complete the test your knowledge section and hit end lab. I'm ending it now, you don't have to. Okay, so we have a few questions. Let me go one by one. So Tanmay said, check my progress. It says that my machine type is not correct. Okay. So your machine type, as was said earlier in the lab, let me highlight this for you. Okay. So you see the machine type is 2V CPU. You're gonna go into the machine type drop down and you're gonna see that it has selected 1V CPU for you, but you're gonna change it to 2V. Okay. Yep. You're gonna see that the 2V part is written very lightly with gray ink. I'm gonna start my lab again, no worries. Let's just there are. Okay, let me just log in again to help you. And Vanessa, I guess Vanessa is having this same problem as Tanmay, so give me a second to get this disturbing thing out of the way, and then we can actually, I'll show you guys how to go. Hey Jackie, do you have your Cloud Console open? Jackie?
Oh no.
Oh, okay, just is that in standard? Yes, it's in standard. But I would ask you to just wait a bit so I can just join you guys. Oh God, this is a very disturbing thing. Crosswalks. Please work. Give me a second to log in. Okay, we are back. N1 standard 2, you're gonna select N2. Oh, okay. So you went into VM instances. Okay. And you create a new instance. Okay, so you're gonna see this machine family section. Okay. So you're gonna see this machine family section. You're gonna want to select series E2. Okay. And select N1 powered by Intel Skylake. Okay. And then you're going to want to go to machine type and select N1 standard 2 CPU, 7.5 GB of memory. Okay, Tanmay and Vanessa. Okay, so attempt this. I am not gonna close my cloud this time, don't worry. So that's one of the other reasons why we use cloud study jams to do this session. That's because the cloud learning platform for Google is very specific and it doesn't let you deviate a single inch from your course. So once we do it like this, you do feel more comfortable with course. Does it say 37 minutes? In any case, if you feel like you're not being able to run the code or making a mistake with the code, you can hover over the code and you can copy it from here and paste it on the text editors, okay? Of the terminals. Oh.
Also regarding the code, sorry for misinformation, but the credits will be accessible within 6 months, so it's until February. It's only the code for the subscription will be expired today.
So that was your second lab. And that's a wrap. We do have a small extra section where we talk about data engineering, but you have completed the first two quests, and that was our goal today. In the next 2 weeks, the next Friday and the Friday after that, we will be doing 2 more labs and completing the entire series of GCP Essentials, and you're gonna get your own badge and tons of more credits to keep learning GCP in the future. So I hope you all like this session. And if you don't want to stick around for the extra session, I guess I'm gonna hand this over to Millie instead of just keeping on talking. I've been talking for 2 hours. So Millie, how about you say a small goodbye to people, right?
Oh, okay. Give me a second to find the link to the next event so I could post it here. Oh, did you guys already put that? No, right? Yeah.
No, we just put our socials up in here.
Cool.
You're gonna get these slides with whatever I said, like with transcripts in your emails today.
Yes. And also, that platform that you guys use to sign up and come into this event? Yeah, so we will be doing an event wrap-up every single time we do an event, and we will be uploading this slide deck and our YouTube links of this event to that platform as well, so you can find it anytime you want there. And also, I have sent the link to our second session of this Cloud Study Jam, and PK will be hosting that as well. And I highly encourage you guys to come to that one as well. So you can find it in this Hangout chat. Yep. And PK, I think, as the person who actually facilitated this entire workshop, you should be the one to, end it properly.
Okay, so the main reason why we are going with Google Cloud is because of its AI and machine learning features. It's not because we are just GDSC. We could have gone with machine learning or Flutter or tons of other technologies, but we decided to use cloud first. And the reason for this is because Google's cloud platform, along with its machine learning capabilities and AI capabilities, have the power to make tech more accessible. And that's what we all should prefer to have, like a world where tech is more accessible. And that's why we learn tech, and that's why we do what we do. So this whole series is going to be on using Google Cloud. So you can go on to make virtual machines and create your own AIs and machine learning models that will have the capability of making technology more accessible to the whole world. Okay.
Oh, and everybody, we are also trying at GDSC Club. We're also trying to build a product using all of these technologies that we're currently learning to actually make a difference in our community. So this is a whole new thing that we actually discussed during our team meeting today. And there's a channel called Brainstorm in our Discord. So we would really, really appreciate it if you guys would be like willing to put down ideas and, you know, technologies that you would like to work on so that we could, you know, contribute to the community as a club. I think that's it, yeah.
And a big thanks to Jacqueline for being there in the time of this whole event. You were really helpful, though you have talked very less.
Yay. Wait, I saw this text from Ayaz. Interesting idea, Ayaz. That's already in the talks, by the way. Don't tell anybody. Or if you want, you can tell somebody.
And it's not going to be a small one, that's for sure.
It's not going to be a small one. Okay.
Can you go to the next slide, PK?
Okay. So a few extras, you guys can chat with me along with this, but just I've just included a few slides at the end of each workshop so I could give you a sense of what you can accomplish using Google Cloud. So the extra section, what is big data? So big data has three main characteristics: volume, variety, and velocity. Volume is the volume of data, it is high, and it's such as in petabytes or exabytes. Variety data might be structured like relational data or unstructured like videos and images. Velocity is the incoming data that is usually very high. For example, clickstream data and sensor readings. The challenge of big data is to ingest, store, process, and analyze, explore, and visualize. So the high volume, variety, and velocity can be challenging to ingest, process, visualize. Google Cloud Platform has the big data and machine learning technologies that you need to derive business intelligence from data. So if you feel like doing it, there's this lab. We can give you the link in the chat. So to understand big data and work with big data on Google Cloud, you can attempt this lab at your home and you can try different things out so you can figure out what to do. And finally, it's just this. A few information about cloud. Enterprises are rapidly shifting to cloud to enable digital transformation and realize the cost and scalability benefits of cloud. So as you can see, at the end of 2020, cloud shift affected more than $1 trillion in IT spending. Cloud native applications are set to double in the next year, and it had doubled already from 2020 to 2021. Therefore, with all the things that we're doing on cloud and all the unstructured data that we're generating, data engineering is a crucial new field that bridges gaps between data, insight, and action. Okay. Finally, we have the poster that was just added. So give me.
Yeah, I believe I jumped the gun a little bit earlier.
Yeah, didn't get to reload it. So this is our next session. I hope you all loved it, and I hope that you guys can come next week and the day after and the week after that, so we can complete the GCP Essentials quest together and earn our very first Google badge, Google Cloud badge, and start our journey into the clouds.
Woohoo! Yay! Guys, space is not where it's at now. It's the cloud, the stratosphere. Wise words from me. Don't mind me. I'm just gonna mute myself now.
So that's it. Join us in the next session. We're going to be sending you your slides via email. And best of luck and explore cloud. As it says, study jam, cloud's the limit. Okay, bye guys. And best of luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Definitely come next time. Good job, PK.
Yeah,
Yeah, good job.
I should have sat down with a glass of water though.